Natalia Bonner. Welcome to Free Motion Filler Frenzy lesson number 5. I'm having so much fun. Don't forget to keep sharing your progress in our Piece and Quilt Show and Tell Facebook group. Today we're going to be quilting 2 more awesome designs. First, we'll start out with some pebbles. I always love quilting pebbles. I'm going to be quilting those using So Fine color number 492. I love this yellow color. It blends so nicely. Then as we move to the arches, I'll switch thread colors and I'm going to be using So Fine again, color number 460. This bright pink just is so happy on the quilt. Across my whole quilt here, I am using Bottom Line color number 623. I do all of my quilting on a Gammill 22-inch machine. I am stitching in the stitch regulated mode and I have my stitch length set on this quilt at 13 stitches per inch. As I'm quilting, you've probably noticed that I do have my ruler foot on my machine. I do a lot of machine quilting with rulers and have for years. So I'm just comfortable with that foot. I'm comfortable viewing with that foot and working with it on my machine. A fun fact about ruler feet. Ruler feet, pretty much everyone I've ever seen, is designed so that from your needle position to the outside of the foot, it is 1/4 of an inch. So a design like the arches that we're going to be quilting today, I'm going to be using the side of my ruler foot as a gauge, kind of like a guide to help keep my spacing 1/4 of an inch. So that ruler foot can really be helpful in more than one way. All right, friends, let's hop over to our machines and let's get stitching. When stitching pebbles, I like to start out by stitching my first circle. Once I've stitched my first circle, then I'll kind of start to build around that circle, alternating the size of the circle's pebbles as I'm quilting them. Notice here, as I'm quilting out these pebbles, I'm kind of going random. So I try to not quilt in a straight line. I try to keep them more random. I'm trying to not quilt them consistently. It might sound crazy, but if you can be a little bit more random when machine quilting pebbles, when there becomes a space that needs, say, a larger pebble or a smaller pebble, if you've been random overall, then you're going to end up with a better look overall when filling in your background area completely. Pebbles can be very tiring when you're quilting them. There's a lot of stitching and a lot of control that goes into quilting out these pebbles. Make sure that you're always taking a lot of breaks as you quilt designs like this. You'll notice as I'm stitching out these pebbles that if I ever get to a point where I'm kind of stuck or trapped, I'm just going to stitch along right over the top of some of my previous stitch lines to get to a new place and start stitching some more pebbles. I always tell you about this So Fine thread. I love using that thread, but for designs like this, even though this is yellow thread on a white background, it still blends beautifully. And when I do stitch over my stitch lines a couple of times, you don't see a lot of thread buildup with the So Fine thread. The more you practice the pebbles, the more precision and accuracy you will gain in stitching out designs like this. But don't worry, I am not perfect. My quilting's not perfect. My circles are not perfect. I am not aspiring for perfection. I just want something that looks beautiful overall. I can't wait to see your pebbles. Don't forget to share your progress in our Piece and Quilt Show and Tell Facebook group. Next, let's stitch some arches. I'm using some pretty high contrast thread here, so my quilting really stands out. But as a background filler, if you used a matching thread color, this design really does create a lot of interest. To stitch out this design, I'll start out by stitching a long straight line. Here I'm stitching in a small space, so my lines probably start out maybe 1 to 2 inches. But you'll notice as I continue stitching, the length of those lines, the center line, will vary. I do want some long ones and some short ones. Once I've stitched that first arch, then from there I'm using the side of my ruler foot as a guide and adding echoes. I'll stitch those echoes all the way back to my previous stitch line. At my previous stitch line, then I'll travel, moving over about 1/4 of an inch. At that point, then I'll add another echo. On these arches, I have pretty much at least 2 or 3 echoes on all of them, but I don't like to create rules. You know I don't believe in rules, so some of these arches will have 2 or 3 echoes, and some of them will just have 1 or 2. Notice as I'm stitching out these arches, I'm also trying to alternate directions. I want them to go in different directions to create more interest. If I have a space that needs a little bit of a fill, just add some straight echo lines. Nobody's ever going to know that one side of your arch has more echoes than another. Like the pebble design, if I ever get to a place where I'm trapped or stuck, then I can travel along my previous stitch line. Again, that so fine thread really makes a huge difference, even when using high contrast threads like I'm using here. I hope you all found a bit of inspiration from this fun arch design. I can't wait to see your quilting. Don't forget to share your progress in our Piece and Quilt Show and Tell Facebook group. Have a great day, everybody.